Welcome here live to the Community First Igloo. We've got a full house today as we start to get ready for some prime time football in Jacksonville. It's been a long time since Monday Night Football came to Jacksonville, but it's back this week. Welcome here into Teal, the show.
I am so excited. We really do have a full desk, and I cannot wait to hear what everybody has to say about this amazing way to kick off the week for the Jags.
Yeah, it's a big week, too. It's one that people around here have been waiting for a long time. 2011 was the last time the Jaguars were on Monday Night Football. 2011. And it wasn't a great performance, not one that you want to remember. This week, they may hopefully give fans a Monday Night Football performance to remember.
I think I played in the first Monday Night Football game. And as I recall, you sit around all day, and the nerves, they build up. And then when it's game time, I mean, the energy is just there. I mean, and our fans are so ready for this.
It's my first Monday Night Football game ever because my first time covering an NFL team. I'm excited, though. I think this is the perfect time for the Jags to be in prime time. They're doing really, really well, and now they're going to be the only team, of course, other than Bengals, that will be on Monday night. So it should be very exciting for the Jags.
Look, this is big for this team. This is not a stage that they've been on very often, at least in recent history. And right now, they're having one of their best seasons in franchise history. Let's take a look at those AFC South standings, how they're standing right now. The team is feeling pretty good about how things are shaking out for them so far. The Jaguars have 8 wins. They've got a little bit of comfort in the division now after they took down the Texans last week. Texans fell down to number 3 after that loss. So the Jaguars are pretty comfortable there in the AFC South. And we can even look at the AFC standings right now. Jaguars are among those elite teams in the AFC. 8 wins. It's great to see. We were talking a week ago about maybe the race for the AFC South. Now you got to start thinking maybe they're in the race for that number 1 seed in the AFC.
Hey, remember after the game Sunday, they were in that number 1 spot just for a couple hours.
Couple hours of glory. It's all you need to motivate you, right?
There you go.
Well, it's great to have goals, you know. I mean, you start off the season, we all think Super Bowl. There's only one first place, the rest are last. And then what happens is, you know, as you go and the momentum builds, you build more confidence. And then, I mean, you see it right now. I mean, the way they played, we talked about it last week, the rhythm. And if we just keep that rhythm and momentum, I mean, we can win out.
And we heard about that in the locker room, hearing the excitement from the players saying, like, wow, I've never gotten to set foot on a field during Monday Night Football. It's a totally different feeling. So it's exciting to see. And I think when you hear Coach talking in the locker room, I'm so glad that you all went out, played for each other. He referred to it as blue-collar football. And at first I wasn't sure what to think about that. And he said, it's not pretty, it's gritty. And we're here to get gritty. And I love that about our hometown team.
That's right. Foye Oluokun has coined that phrase for the team, gritty, not pretty. And the team has really put that out on the field, and it's turned into wins so far this year. You know, it's like you said, only one team's happy at the end of the year. And right now the Jaguars look like they're at least one of the teams that could be in the conversation to maybe be happy at the end of the year. Still a long way to go, but it starts on primetime football Monday night this week. Jaguars' history in primetime isn't necessarily that bad, even if they haven't been there for a while. They've made it on Monday Night Football 17 times. They have a winning record on Monday Night Football, which is great, because most of the time when we start talking about the history of this team, the records aren't that great. They won their first 5 games on Monday Night Football. I know you mentioned you were in the first one, so that means you walked off that Monday night field with a win, so you were happy.
I mean, you got to think, Monday night is earned, you know, because of the previous season. And, you know, if you have a losing record, you don't see too many teams out there. So, you know, everybody's watching because, you know, you're one of the teams that performed last year. So, you know, you go out there and put a show because names and money can be made.
That's right.
A big game.
That's right. All right. It is a big game coming up, and it's at the bank, so you're going to see a whole lot of Jags swag out there. We're going to talk about some of the Jags swag that a lot of people have been wearing this season. We got one of the guys here at the Community First Igloo with us, so we've got something that you'll want to see right after this break when Teal the Show returns.
Welcome back to Teal the Show. We are here at the Community First Igloo, and tonight, sports and style collide. I'm here with Alessandra and Casey, creator of Lafar, which you have been seeing all over the field and the streets this season. It has become the bespoke brand of the Jaguars. No, don't start blushing now. You made this and you're here. No takesies, backsies. So we are so excited to dive into what makes this style such a signature for the city. Now, Alessandra, thank you for setting this up because I've been dying to know the maker behind this brand. So, Casey, first of all, talk to us about how you started, because this has been a long time coming for you.
Yeah, I think I started, it was 2018. Wasn't really sure where I wanted to go, just too much transparency here, but where I wanted to go in life, what road I wanted to take. I was working in the construction industry. I graduated from the University of Florida with a construction management degree and quickly realized this is not it for me. So wanted to take a step back, look inward, and said, I've always been in love with fashion and designing and creativity overall. And just figured I'd throw my hat in the ring.
Yeah, I'm going to throw a mic at you now.
Okay.
So you're a big
I got
boy.
it.
Now you're big time TV, so you can have your own mic. Now, Alessandra, what is it that you love so much about this brand? Because you've been talking about it a lot this season.
I have seen this brand all over the Jaguars social media and all the players. Aaron Beasley walked in with one of your hats on, by the way.
Which is an honor from a legend like himself. So
Oh, and he's right over there, so we heard that. It's just, usually you can see a lot of sports memorabilia or sports clothing that is like very basic. Yours is so fun and it's stylish, and that's what I love about it.
Okay.
And I wanted to get your take on this because, Alessandra's our New York girl. I feel like you get the signature stamp when it comes to fashion. The combination of kind of street style
Absolutely.
and swag for fans is really kind of a cross-section that you've really nailed, I think.
Me?
I mean, I didn't make it.
Thank you.
I'm not the elf making these in the back.
Thank you.
So what kind of did create your signature style? Because you do in retail have to set yourself apart. There's a lot of brands out there, but this is something really special for you.
I think it's important for any creative to have a signature product, to kind of, get it going for themselves. And I think the one product that helped us kind of get our name out there and kind of gain some recognition was the corduroy hat. So, okay, go ahead. Why don't you go ahead and try that on for us?
Go ahead, Vanna.
And then, so what I started to do was just simply cold call factories to try and, because it's also important for the brand to be made in America. So everything that we got on the table was handmade here in the Southeast. So I started cold calling factories, starting sourcing fabrics, and landed on just cool colors that I appreciated in a corduroy fabric. Drove up and down the East Coast, I-95, found the factories, went and spent some time, created patterns, and then ultimately landed on some samples and really landed on these hats of what you see here today.
Now, what's interesting to me is the fact that, like you said, you are, what'd you tell me before the show, fifth generation Jacksonville?
Fifth generation. My son is the sixth. Cash, I love you.
So, Cash, we love you too, right here from Teal the Show. Thank you for letting us borrow your dad for the night. But what do you want to talk to other local businesses who are, making this move? Because now that the Jaguars are doing so well, you get to see your brand right beside an NFL logo, which is something we talked about the first week at Teal the Show. And now other local brands are getting that opportunity. What do you want to say to them?
To other local brands? I just think it's amazing. The coolest thing for me is to see the local brands in this city to be able to share this. It's not just me. I'm not the only man or the only brand in this city that's making positive moves and creating items of this caliber. Like there's a lot of movers and shakers in this city, so a lot of them deserve to be shouted out. And I think it's just special for an organization like the Jacksonville Jaguars to recognize the movers and the shakers and the hustlers in this city and say, we believe in this brand, and we want to give them a vote of confidence, and let's roll something out with you. So.
Well, now that you're hitting this shirt, we got to talk about.
I know, yeah. Let's talk.
We got to
about
talk
you
about the
like this,
clothing.
this. I'll be Vanna. Alessandra,
Okay.
you talk us through.
The shirts
Okay,
are
cool.
perfect. I love them. I've seen this shirt. Everyone else in Jacksonville has.
So this polo was inspired by the classic throwback Jacksonville Jaguar jerseys of the 90s, right? Anyone that knows the white uniform that we used to wear, this braid right here is the exact pattern that the team wore down the side of their pants. So I wanted to make sure that, we brought that back because I'm feeling a lot of high 90s energy these days with this team. So I wanted to make sure that, we brought that to the forefront. And also we got the classic Tom Coughlin logo. I wanted to make sure we use the old trademarks as well.
And then let's talk about these.
Okay.
Because you got to mention your neighbor.
Okay, absolutely. So one day I walked in my neighbor's house, and she had all of these hand-knitted, crocheted baby toys. And they were amazing. And I just asked her, do you think there's any way that you could knit a bucket hat or a balaclava or a hood? And then I was
Right.
thinking, I would sew it on a hoodie to create a piece. And she was like, I'll give it a shot. I came back the next day, and she had them all knitted. So the Jaguars actually saw this piece. The vice president of marketing was like, if we do this capsule and we give you a chance, this is the product that we need. And I was like, guys, my neighbor knitted this. There's no way I'm going to have to give her like a heads up like now just to make like 50 of these. And they were like, well, you better go let her know. So I was like,
There we go.
oh my goodness. So I ran to my neighbor's house. I was like, hey, here's the teal, the black, the gold, and the white yarn. Do you think that you could knit, 75 hoods by November? And she was like, yeah, I'll give it a shot. So sure enough, she went to work, finished them, last month. I sourced the sweatshirts, dyed the sweatshirts, and then had them embroidered locally as well. And Bina, if you're watching, my neighbor, she now has an official NFL licensed product. So big shout out to my neighbor Bina for making it happen.
You
That
are a
is
miracle
fantastic.
worker and a much better
And it's
fashion person than me.
Yeah, and it's so cool because, any idea now, the way that I look at it is just anything's viable, right? I mean, it doesn't have to be a mass scale. I think the thing that's most important is being able to tell a story behind it. So, something as small as 75 pieces, but getting involved with literally the boots on the ground, my neighbor, local embroiderers, local sweatshirts. It's just an amazing story.
Exactly. We love to hear it. All right. Well, you guys can go shop online right now during this commercial break, and we'll be back with a lot more Teal the Show right after this.
We're back here live at the Community First Igloo. All right, we've got Aaron Beasley here. He's a former NFL player. Of course, we've got to pick his brain on what's going on out on the football field, right? So today we got a chance to get him over on the board to give us a little bit of schooling, a little bit of football 101 on what maybe you might see from the Jaguars on Monday night.
So here we are. We're playing the Cincinnati Bengals this week. We know they have a bona fide superstar wide receiver. His name is Jamar Chase, number one right here. Some of the effective things that we probably could do this week are put 2 men on him. And a way to do that, we will have to put our other corners out there on the island. So we usually put them on inside leverage to make sure that they can't get beat for the quick ball. But what we'll do here is we'll play outside leverage. Notice how he's lined up outside. We'll have our safeties in a 2 shell, just as we have a younger quarterback, and we don't want him to know exactly what coverage we're in. So what we do is have him read on the fly. And usually when you got a guy in a slot like this, they want to find a way to get him upfield and take your leverage away by stemming you and then continuing on the route. And usually when you have a route like this, a combo is a under route is what we call it. And then you'll have Jamar push up the field a little bit just to get into this window over here, which is usually about 10 to 15 yards. And so what happens is when you know that you're doubling someone like this, you have to make sure the backside safety comes down because sometimes he can get beat to that point as well. So what happens when the ball snaps, we'll have our strong safety go to the middle of the field. He'll play deep third. He'll play a zone. These guys will be playing man, and our free safety will come down to be a robber. So if he does get an inside route, he will carry Jamar the rest of the way. Our nickelback will squeeze, and he will actually come back into this hole, and he will be helping the next man. That's called one funnel. Now let's flip the side to the offense and some of the adjustments that I see. One of the things that I do see that's freeing Mr. Ridley up out here is when we get into this formation, we give him a lot more room to create space. So what we're doing is we're lining him up, we're motioning him in here. So what this does, from my perspective as a defensive back, I have to stay outside leverage because there's so much field to protect over here. So as a corner, I'm usually going to come in here with him, but I'm going to make sure I stay on his outside. So what's happening now, when you get a guy like Kirk who comes upfield so fast, you don't know who's going to come inside or who's going to come outside. So what they're doing is we call this a stack. So once he stacks behind him, he now has a lot more room to operate. And as a corner, you're making sure you're protecting the deep. And what's happening is he's stemming. He can stem too. He stems and he gives you that hard cut out. And what's happening when you see these games now, the ball is coming out before he's even making this break, which gives Calvin the chance to set this route up by selling the go, coming back on the out. That 10 yards is going to be open all game.
Class is in session.
That's right. A little bit of offensive and defensive football 101. Learn a little bit of something so that way somebody's going to see that and then watch out on the game on Monday night and be like, that's what everyone was talking about. That's it right there.
Hey, you don't realize how much film guys study. I mean, because everything out there, like I'll go back to my word, rhythm and timing, everything out there in that game is about that. So when you have it and you got guys on the same page, then it's confidence, and that's this whole game.
And, you know, sometimes you don't realize how big of a difference something small, like you were talking about Calvin Ridley lining up a little bit inside, just that small shift all of a sudden changes a lot for the defensive players.
Well, the game and the field, like we always say, the plays are always the same, but it's just how you make micro adjustments. So when you have a guy move in a little more, now he has more space. And a guy like Calvin, I mean, the wiggle he has, I mean, he can shake somebody and turn them around quick.
I mean, and we're, you know, like you said, we were hearing in the locker room, like talking about trying to make those movements. And, you know, a few weeks ago, that L is a long distant memory, but the first thing that we said was out of sorts was our rhythm and was kind of the overall feeling on the field. So do you think making these micro adjustments, if we can continue to push that, we can continue to get kind of exponential movement down the field as we're starting to see us progress?
I think the main thing is executing, you know. The first couple of games, I didn't see it as good as I do now, but that does take time. And, you know, sometimes it takes a little butt whooping to wake you up. And now I see a different type of focus when these guys are out there.
Nothing like a butt whooping to get you in line. And that's what happened, and all of a sudden it's like they woke up and everything's rolling along smooth. They're acting right all of a sudden. All right, we've got plenty more Teal the show. When it comes back, we're going to talk a little bit about a day in history that's coming your way tomorrow when it comes to the Jaguars, and something that you want to be prepared for as you head to the bank on Monday night. Teal the show is coming right back after this quick break.
It's my pleasure to announce that the membership has selected Jacksonville as the 30th NFL club. Thank you.
That's your moment in history. Tomorrow is the 30-year anniversary of the announcement that the Jaguars were coming to Jacksonville. Talk about a day that a lot of people will remember and definitely celebrate, because now they have an NFL team, right?
Yeah, that we're crushing, by the way.
Yeah. So it's got a big game coming up on primetime. It's been almost 30 years now since Jacksonville found out they had a team. And, of course, it's going to be a fun environment. Night games at the bank are always fun. Jaguars want a little bit of a favor from you if you're heading out to the game, though. Make sure you download that Jaguars app, and when you look in the Jaguars app, you're going to see something called Lighting Up the Bank. They want you to sign up because they're going to try and do this really cool light show. You may have seen it if you've gone to any of the away games where they sync up everybody's flashlights on their phone to give these cool effects. You know, Monday Night Football already has such a unique environment. Night games have such an impactful environment, and this should make it maybe even that much more intimidating, and should be a pretty cool show if they pull it off.
I was going to say, what we want people walking away with is saying, like, hey, Jacksonville's a tough place to play. Because we've had to say that a lot while we've been on the road. I want people saying that in their pressers after playing here.
Aaron, I got to ask you, you've played in those primetime games. What is it going to be like for the Jags players on Monday night?
Just the energy that is going to be throughout that stadium. I mean, you're going to feel it. You're going to see it, of course, because all the fans are going to be painted in their different colors and everything. But, I mean, it's just one of those, it's a Super Bowl for a hometown, if you can think about it, at that level.
Yeah, Super Bowl
for a hometown.
For a hometown, we like that. We
Maybe
like that.
2 Super Bowls for the Jags.
Maybe 2. That's what I'm saying. I like when you start using that phrase around this team. You just throw it around as much as you want. Super Bowl for a hometown, or just Super Bowl. Who knows? Maybe we're talking about that in a few weeks, maybe a couple months down the road when we sit down here for Teal the show. Good night, everybody. Thanks for tuning in with us here at the Community First Igloo, and we'll see you next week.